Welcome to Solution Focused Future. I'm Joe George. Here we are today with Sharon and Dennis Welch, two fascinating people working in Cambodia. Dennis and Sharon, how would you like to be introduced?
We've been living in Cambodia for about 14 years. We came here as Christian missionaries back in 2008, and we've been on the journey. We have discovered solution-focused practice, and we're just really, really excited about using it in everyday life.
You know, Joe, life has offered a lot of experiences to us, which just have made us really, really passionate about having the opportunity to work and live here in Cambodia. We consider Cambodia home now. We've actually built a house here, and so Cambodia is home. And with being able to do some of the different works and experiences that we've had, it makes life fun and interesting.
We're about 3 hours south of Phnom Penh, down on the coast in a sleepy, eclectic little town called Kampot. And we live about 5 miles outside of the city in the countryside. And so we're surrounded by mountains on the one side of us and a large stream, small river behind the house. It's just a lovely setting. Amazing, beautiful, green, tropical setting.
Of all the different strains of supporting people, how did you choose solution-focused thinking and solution-focused practice?
When we came to Cambodia, we came definitely with good intentions. And we came in seeing a lot of poverty and what we would call a lot of problems and issues. And so we kind of came in with a sign that said, "I'm your hero, let me fix your problems." And we went down that road for a while, but as we continued down that journey, we saw how it was us trying to get people to buy in instead of them really coming with a plan and what they wanted. And so through that, we started rethinking the process, as Dennis said, and sought out other ways. And that brought us to Solution Focus, because now we can walk with them in their journey instead of coming and telling them what they need to do to make their life work.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes total sense. It's definitely a great cultural bridge to work with what they're bringing to the table. You two had fascinating backstories. You haven't been missionaries your whole lives. How did you fall into being in Cambodia in the first place?
Well, that is an interesting story. I was a career air traffic controller at Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport, and Sharon was a very successful real estate agent in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And together we were, living the dream, living the good life in America with the nice house on an airport. And we got involved in racing cars and did that for 12, 13 years and enjoyed exploring caves and scuba diving and all these adventurous things. And so with our first exposure to coaching, it wasn't yet solution focused, led to separate conversations that, and unbeknownst to one another, that both of these coaches they actually, it was a bit directive and suggestive, but they suggested that we become involved in mission work or some kind of international work overseas somewhere. And so, wow, we'd never really thought about that. And we explored that a little further, and one thing led to another. And we started on a journey, on a path to come to Cambodia to serve the kingdom of God over here. And so I took early retirement from the airport, and Sharon hung up her real estate license, and we headed off to a Bible school and spent 2 years preparing, and then moved to Cambodia. Along the journey, we bought a house, a durian farm. Are you familiar with durian fruit?
Is that the stinky fruit?
Uh-huh.
A little bit.
Yeah. And that smell is permeating the house right now because it's durian fruit season. So, but we bought the farm not because it was a durian farm. It was because it was in this amazing, beautiful setting here between the mountains and the river, and fell in love with the place. Built a house along the way. Through another story too long for this interview. Ended up with 3 Cambodian daughters who lost their mother when they were little, all sisters. And so we really have roots down here now. We have family, we have a son and grandkids in the States, but we've got a family here too.
Yeah, I often say, Joe, it's like we're 1 foot in America and 1 foot in Cambodia, because the relationships are so endearing. And so, we're happy to be here. We love being here, but we do miss our relationships in the States. We go to the States and it's vice versa. We miss the relationships here.
And your son, how old are like the respective groups?
They're all young adults, from the youngest being 25 to the oldest being 42, 43, and in between.
Our son in the States is 42. And while he's never had an opportunity because of his life situation to come over here yet, and the girls haven't gone to America yet, but they really want to. We're trying to take them this year, but they both have 2 of them that could travel right now. The third one is pregnant, just got married recently. And so our first Cambodian grandson is on the way. It's a boy. And but Michael in the States, he's got 4 kids, and they're all grown now and out of high school. And in fact, the last one just graduated. One of them graduated this week from university. And so we're old people, but we're still...
He's old, I'm not old.
Chugging along.
And do you use solution-focused thinking in your own lives?
Working through a problem, being focused on the problem. Sometimes you find answers, but often you stay in a problem. So, as he was asking, what do you want instead, and looking for the solutions, it was just a mindset change. And so I then reached out to Dave and Debbie Hogan in Solution Focus and said, hey, I'd like to take this training too. And it's just been a life changer in the way we really communicate with people in just everyday life, along with if they want any personal coaching or counseling or therapy.
Yeah, and it's a great tool for parenting.
Yes.
Especially, when I don't know, we don't have any experience using it with little ones, but certainly with teenager and up, it's amazing. It's so helpful, and it gives your kids the opportunity to build confidence through personal agency. They have they're working part of their own adaptation to what it's like to have responsibility and to make your own decisions and then be responsible for the outcome. And so it's been really helpful in parenting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as a matter of fact, sometimes our daughters are coming to us saying, can I schedule some time with you so that you can coach me on something? Especially our middle daughter. She lives in Phnom Penh, 3 hours away. And sometimes she'll come for visits, or even through a Zoom call or phone call. She'll like, Daddy, I need some help. I need you to coach me through something.
Yeah.
In this journey, I understand why you wanted to get more coaching, just to help you think through things. How did you stumble upon Debbie, and why Solution Focus instead of other areas that you'd been exposed to?
So we were maybe 3 months later at a Christian conference in, I don't even remember where it was, maybe China. And Dave and Debbie, we had known they were involved in counseling, and we got in a conversation. We knew them from before, but we really didn't understand the work they were involved in, just knew that it had something to do with counseling. And we got in a conversation about it, and they told us about their program. And so we signed up I signed up for their program initially and took the Solution Focused coaching. And boy, as an American, you can relate to the idiom, I drank the Kool-Aid. I mean, it was the cat's meow and still is. You know, I just don't know of a better way to help people help themselves. It really is effective and transformational.
And what are the three most important things you think people should master as they learn to use solution-focused thinking?
You want to go first? You want me to?
No, please go ahead.
Okay. So for me, it's embracing the SF assumptions and not just reading through them as a list, but actually holding them dear to your heart. We see, you know, from our perspective, and so it's easy for us to view people as the expert of their own life. And that small change leads to big change. And like Sharon mentioned before, problem talk leads to problem talk, but solution talk leads to solutions. And many other SF assumptions. Embracing those, I think, is really important. Number two is and it just happens naturally as you begin your journey as a solution focused practitioner, but this ability to listen well and discern what you're listening to select what you've heard in the turn that the person has taken in speaking, to select out the positive things, the good things, the things that you perceive to be something that can be built upon as the conversation progresses. So this active listening would be something that I would say would be an important thing. And can you think of another one you'd like to add?
Those were two I would have hit on. But yeah, the co-collaborating, partnering with the person that you're working with for, that they're the expert once again, and walking with them in that journey. With just like what Dennis said is, pulling out the gems, the nuggets out of what they're saying. So the questions that you're asking are just going to continue to lead with forward moments of, aha, wow, I haven't thought about that. And you start seeing things click within people. And it's really inspiring and encouraging as we do that, and we see other people learning to do that, people that we're working with so that they can be coaches or counselors or therapists.
Yeah, I did think of another one. The power in the question of what else.
Yes.
Because oftentimes, and it's certainly true in this context here, that the first answer won't necessarily be the deep or best answer. And as we know, each time you ask that question, a person is in a new place. They have, because of what they just said before.
In searching with individuals their know-how so that they can really start embracing, their past resources and skills and successes, because focusing on those things generally give people forward movement instead of being stuck.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I would have to imagine with your success in your previous fields as a real estate agent and an air traffic controller, you probably both had pretty darn good listening skills before you started. But everyone does bring their own experiences to what they do. Like, how did your previous experiences influence your current practice?
Well, I think for me, being in real estate, and I love people, I'm very outgoing, and just spending time with people I've really valued relationships of trust, and just really, like you say, in those listening skills. It was important in my field that I listened to what people were wanting and their desires and so forth. So that, those kind of things just really impacted me, and have caused me to just, as I'm doing solution focus, I do think I fall back on a lot of my experience just with listening and being relational, and just trying to travel in someone's journey with them.
And I think for me, it's really almost exactly opposite. I came from both in air traffic control when I trained others to be controllers, and then the training that I received in kind of this Western model of doing missions was both were quite directive. And so there was, lecture and critique of messing it up and so forth, always meant to be helpful, but it was still quite directive. And so when I discovered solution focused practice, it was revolutionary to me. And it made all the difference in the world because it just makes good sense.
Which areas do you think best align? Which fields, which professions, which areas of life?
SF has been well utilized in SFBT and other forms of help professions like coaching, and now it's sweeping the education system. It's been used in medicine, and now we're taking it into the area of ministry. And so instead of, when someone reads a Bible passage and the script, Jesus commands to do something, we don't tell them how to do that or what that means. We walk with them as they decide, they choose what they want to do with that. And that's I think it's amazingly helpful for the business world, for especially from. I started to be a bit selective there. No, it's perfect for the CEO all the way down to the janitor. No matter what the field, I think the solution focused approach can help them. But certainly in the business world, I love seeing that it's in education now. That not just the teacher-student relationship, but even the relationships between the teachers and their managers, or the administration. All of that's fascinating stuff.
I think it's a good avenue to open doors in the sense of really in any venue of people that you're talking with. It will open doors, and in a positive manner, if people are wanting change, it's a positive challenge. They take it in a positive way as they're selecting things but feeling challenged. I've had clients say, "Wow, you're challenging me," and then they'll stop and they'll say, "Oh no, it's causing me to challenge myself. What do I want different?" Really gets that creative thinking going on. And so, as Dennis said, really, in any type of events, if people are open, I think that it can be, wow, just life changing.
Mm-hmm.
Were there ever any moments where it wasn't working for you?
This client, I walked away from that session feeling like I had done very, very poorly. And yet I met with him 2 or 3 months later, and he reminded me of some of the things that we had discussed during that time and what a difference it had made having that conversation in his forward movement. I had no idea that it was being as effective as it was. So while I felt like it wasn't working at the time, it did. And so that was an amazing experience. Sometimes I also find it really challenging sometimes to counsel or coach the people that I'm closest to, because I care so darn much. I love them so much. It's hard to not want to be helpful in the old way. So I think that's probably one of the most challenging scenarios is coaching loved ones.
I would definitely agree with that. And I think sometimes, and for me, I have such a strong desire for people to really go after what they want and to succeed at that, that I have to be very careful to not want it more than they do. So again, being very careful that I'm seeking what they want instead of what I want. Want for them.
If you had to come up with an advertising campaign for solution-focused thinking and solution-focused counseling, what would your slogan be?
Divine solutions.
Now, Is there anything else I'm missing? Is there anything else you'd like to add about the interesting things that you're encountering or anything else?
And that it's also really impactful for a marital relationship too. That I now listen to my wife better than I ever have before, which, quite frankly, was an issue for a while and before. And we also, even as we talk together about overcoming obstacles that are before us in life, it's definitely more solution talk. And we ask each other solution focused questions in order to move together as a team. And it just, yeah, it's good. It's good.
I think what's fascinating and what's drawn us with some of our activities that we do, maybe not the race car driving and motorcycle, but those motorcycling does have us out in nature. But with like Angkor Wat and scuba diving or hiking, those type of things, I mean, we're getting to often see what man has made, like building Angkor Wat, but seeing how God has, just ruled where trees and their roots have just overtaken these massive, amazing buildings. And so, your mind can just go a number of different places. But as Cinna said, with our spiritual values and, looking at how God works and all of these things, going down, 100 feet or 30 meters and seeing, all the beautiful things underwater. It just, it's very amazing. Yeah.
Nice.
By the way, something else that came to my mind that we just want to give a plug for is that through our counseling, and we got involved in supervision, not that we're supervisors, but being supervised. And the power of the reflecting team. Are you familiar with that?
No.
Reflecting team? Okay, well, it's a way to do peer supervision. Obviously, there is a supervisor involved, but then peers help in the process. We have been doing that for months now, and there is not one single time that we came away from that feeling as if it was boring and not helpful. We come away so energized at co-creating with peers solutions that are helpful for therapists that have difficult cases, and it's just an amazing experience. So if you ever have an opportunity to be involved in a peer supervision group that's utilizing the reflecting team process, it's amazing, powerful.
Who did you go through to get that? Is that through Debbie or is that through a different organization?
That's the Academy of Solution Focused Training.
Okay.
It's something they organize for all of their graduates. And it's an amazing experience. Dave and Debbie are so generous. They're and so helpful. They want all of us who've come through the academy to be as successful as we possibly can be, and whatever's within their power to be helpful in that journey, in that process, they're willing to do. They're amazing people.